The Tampa Bay Buccaneers may have moved on from Antonio Brown, but he hasn't moved on from them. We review a fresh mock draft, this time a 2-rounder, and The Rock joins the show. Kind of. A whole new episode of Locked On Bucs coming right now.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bucs Nation? Welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And we thank you for making us your first listen or view of the day. I am David Harrison. My co-host, James Yarko, not here for today's episode. He will be back tomorrow. Both of us, though, are covering your Tampa Bay Buccaneers for SB Nation's BucsNation.com. When we aren't there, you can find us here or on Twitter, at JYarko_Bucs, at DHarrison82, at Locked On Bucs, and at Bucs Nation. Thanks again for making us your first view or your first listen of the day. It's been nearly 2 months since Antonio Brown ran off the field in the middle of a game, a week since the NFL season came to an end for everybody, and nearly 2 weeks since the quarterback who brought Antonio Brown to the Buccaneers in the first place retired. Yet, as the team and the quarterback look towards the future, AB just can't quit the Buccaneers, lashing out once again towards the team, this time on social media, featuring an MRI of Antonio Brown's injured ankle, the one that has been in question since early October, since November, and throughout this entire saga. If you're on YouTube, obviously you can kind of see it for yourself, but if not, and if you haven't seen it, AB posting an image of an MRI of his ankle to Instagram on Monday with the caption overlaid over it saying, "They tried to hurt me intentionally." He ats the Buccaneers, sent me out there after knowing I was still hurt. Tom said he would throw it if I came to play hurt. I came. He didn't throw it. Imagine being hurt, having to play through this and being lied to. Coach said if I couldn't run on this, get the F out of there or out of here. And then he writes, "F all you, MF." I'm not going to elaborate. Still can't stop me. And then he adds the NFL as well, just for good nature there. So Antonio Brown, once again, targeting the Buccaneers, targeting Tom Brady in this, and then targeting the NFL as well, which I'm not sure what they had to do with the entire situation. And of course, obviously it brings up all of the things that happened before. And listen, nobody is denying that Antonio Brown definitely had an ankle injury, to the degree that it was injured and all those things in the history of players playing with injuries and all those. Listen, I'm not Antonio Brown. I don't have his ankle, so I'm not going to make a judgment on whether or not he should have been playing on it. But what I will say is essentially the same thing that James and I talked about when this whole thing first went down. There's a medical staff there in Tampa Bay, part of the organization, part of the franchise. The players have free will to go talk to them, see them, visit them for treatment, for diagnosis, all that stuff. And still, Antonio Brown and his people, his lawyer specifically, we have still yet to hear from either of them that Antonio Brown ever went to the medical staff to say that he shouldn't be cleared to play and that he shouldn't have been on the field, and given the medical professionals the opportunity to make that designation, to make that medical decision there on the field. I'm not saying he wasn't right, but again, you have to go through kind of the right channels. And listen, Antonio Brown, there were a lot of people who defended him in the beginning of all this drama, basically saying it wasn't about the catches, it wasn't about his incentives, it was about him getting treated the right way. But then it's come out time and time again that actually it was very much about the catches. At the time, guys, just to refresh everybody's memory, going into halftime in that game against the New York Jets, AB was second on the team in targets. He was one behind the team leader in targets. He had 5 at that point, so on pace to get 10 targets, which is a pretty good day for any wide receiver. Refused to go in the game coming into the second half. Still had made no mention of ever addressing his medical status with the actual trainers or the doctors on the team to go get himself ruled out of the game. And of course, remember recent comments from Mike Evans. Not sure that that's what sparked this whole thing. It's hard to tell kind of what's going through AB's mind, but Mike Evans was recently on the NFL Network and kind of mentioned, or on Yahoo rather, sorry, it kind of mentioned that's the words Mike Evans used. We were trying to get him back in the game. He was saying he wanted the rock, and Evans is trying to get him to go back in the game, but he doesn't. So again, you have another person talking about this is about catches, this is about targets. Evans goes into the game in the third quarter. When he comes off the field, he tells Yahoo Sports that he comes off the field, he sees BA and AB kind of getting into their conflict, and Brown starts to walk off the field. And then we've all kind of seen the clip of Mike Evans kind of holding AB close and talking to him. And Evans said he was basically trying to tell him not to go out like that. Like, the season's almost over. They need him for the run. The playoffs are coming. If he doesn't want to be on the team anymore, just wait till the offseason, walk away. That way, don't leave the way he was about to. Evans said he was getting called into the game at that very moment as well, so he had to kind of leave him there, basically just saying, don't go out like that. Evans goes back on the field. They drive down the field. They score. TV timeout comes, and he says next thing he knows, he sees Antonio Brown doing the jump-in jacks and everything, kind of smirks a little bit. Called it unfortunate, but again, this is Mike Evans, is an NFL wide receiver. So if you don't want to take my word for it, don't want to take James' word for it, anybody else's word for it, BA's word for it. I mean, this is Mike Evans, guys, and never, never out of his mouth did it come, that maybe the Buccaneers asked him to do too much, or maybe the medical staff asked him to do too much, or maybe BA asked him to do too much. He basically said, look, the team came to both of us. We were both hurt. We were both on pitch counts, and said, look, we need you. And we both agreed. And he even said, AB said, yeah, fine, put me in there and we'll go out there. And then he changed his mind. Didn't like the way he was received when he did change his mind, especially with the team losing. It's unfortunate. Absolutely. It is unfortunate, but it doesn't sound like, again, from the causes or the cases that are coming out. And again, AB claims he's got text messages and evidence that we're not seeing. We sure are seeing MRIs, but we're not seeing this evidence. I have a feeling this isn't the last we've heard from AB, but look, if there's anything to be said there, the NFLPA, you can guarantee the NFL Players Association will get involved and will do everything they can to make sure the Buccaneers receive punishment, or BA receives punishment if there is something to the claims. And look, in today's NFL, guys, there's microphones everywhere. Some microphone there picked up the conversations going on. Now, Antonio Brown has since taken down the post, so it's no longer on Instagram, but of course, as soon as you put something up, especially if your name is Antonio Brown, screen grabs are going to go flying. And that is how we get this episode started. Never a dull day in the football world, I'll tell you what. But if you prefer your sports in a more competitive setting rather than contentious, pro and college basketball is still happening. And you can get all your latest odds, totals, player performance props, and where the next fired coach is going to land. Maybe Juwan Howard is going to end up one of those. I don't think he is suspended for the season, but I don't think he's going to get fired. Either way, betonline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to your Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action at BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you again, Bucs fans, for making us your first listen or your first view every single day. Make sure you're following the Locked On NFL podcast on YouTube or on all available platforms. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NFL every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. It's Monday as we sit down to record this episode, which means we're going to do Mock Draft Monday. We were going to do it yesterday, but the Twitter beef and the drama that happened over the weekend kind of ate up all the time. So Mock Draft Monday, dropping on a Tuesday on the audio format. You'll still get it Monday night on YouTube, but we're recording it on Monday, so it still kind of fits, right? And this week, guys, we're looking at a 2-round mock draft from Pro Football Focus. Again, 2 rounds of NFL mock draft. The top 5 picks, I mean, obviously not the Buccaneers related, but I always like to kind of go over the top 5, and this year's especially because there's a little bit of a fluctuation there. It's not necessarily a guaranteed number one. It's going to be interesting to see who the Jacksonville Jaguars actually eventually pull the trigger on. In this mock draft, PFF has the Jaguars selecting edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson out of the University of Michigan. The number 2 overall pick, again, a trench player, an edge rusher, again, Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon, going to Detroit. So kind of squashing the whole Aiden Hutchinson staying in Detroit, going from the Wolverines to the Lions. That would be a cool story. But the Jacksonville Jaguars don't care about your story. They want the best player available, and apparently in this situation, they think it's Hutchinson. At number 3, you've got the Houston Texans taking offensive tackle Ikem Ekwonu out of NC State. And then number 4, New York Jets take cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU. And then with the 5th overall pick, the New York Giants take offensive tackle Evan Neal out of Alabama. So 5 picks, you've got 2 pass protectors, 2 pass rushers, and a pass defender going in the top 5. We fast forward all the way to pick number 27, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take defensive lineman Devonte Wyatt out of the University of Georgia. The synopsis says, quote, while Jordan Davis drew the national spotlight, Wyatt quietly put together an equally, if not more, impressive season with Georgia last season. An uber explosive athlete for his size. He's 6'3", 315 pounds. Wyatt won as a pass rusher and run defender because of his get-off and finesse. He ranked inside the 90th percentile at his position in PFF pass rushing grade and run stop percentage in 2021, end quote. So very good stuff there from Devonte Wyatt. Wouldn't be angry at this pick at all. We all kind of expect, I think, Ndamukong Suh to go ahead and retire. And even if he doesn't, after trying to re-sign Chris Godwin, potentially bringing back maybe Carlton Davis, Ryan Jensen, who knows, it's going to be really hard for the Buccaneers to repeat what they did last year, bring back all these starters, especially without Tom Brady. I mean, we got to be real here. Tom Brady, a big reason a lot of those guys were as flexible with their contract arrangements as they were for the Buccaneers. Now, at the time that Wyatt is selected in this mock draft, some interesting players still available, still on the board that they could have considered for the Buccaneers at pick number 27. Cornerback Kaiir Elam out of Florida was still on the board. Quarterback Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. A lot of people think he's the most NFL ready, quote unquote, type of guy. Less of a ceiling to climb towards, but the highest floor of all quarterbacks available from a lot of perspectives. Kenny Pickett still available there. Wide receiver Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. I know a lot of Buccaneers fans are a big fan of the Buccaneers potentially drafting Dotson with that 27th overall pick. Even if Chris Godwin comes back, go ahead and pair one star Penn State wide receiver with another potential star Penn State wide receiver. And then edge rusher Kingsley Enagbare out of South Carolina, who had an amazing Senior Bowl, really made a lot of money for himself, also available. Edge is another position that people have talked about potentially adding there to the group of Shaq Barrett, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, and then add him in there with Anthony Nelson as JPP. Again, another player that a lot of people are kind of looking towards probably retiring. And then even if he doesn't, the Buccaneers may not choose to go ahead and pay him. Having another edge rusher there to kind of help out on a rotational basis with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka as he gets his first full season, presumably as a starting pass rusher there, or open season, let it go. Kingsley Enagbare and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, they enter camp, and the best man is the starter, and the next guy is a rotational piece. So that's who is left on the board. But again, 27th overall, Pro Football Focus in this mock draft edition have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking Devonte Wyatt, defensive lineman out of Georgia. Then you fast forward to the second round with the 59th pick. That's where the Buccaneers go wide receiver. They take Justyn Ross out of Clemson, 6'3", 205-pound wide receiver, very technically sound, very versatile player. I don't mind the pick and the player and the fit and the scheme and everything else. But my question here is, so the Buccaneers, obviously, in this scenario, I think re-sign Carlton Davis, right? You have to re-sign. If you don't re-sign Carlton Davis, you got to go cornerback in the first or the second round minimum. You can't let the first 2 rounds go by without addressing that position unless there's some sort of player that they signed. Again, PFF doesn't get too deep in the weeds on it, and I don't blame them. I've done mock drafts, and you don't want to get into too deep into the weeds in every team scenario, of course. But as a Buccaneers focused individual here, and you guys are talking about the same thing, considering the same thing. I mean, even if you bring back Carlton Davis, a lot of people want corner. In fact, if you go back there to Kaiir Elam, a lot of people might say you pull the trigger on Kaiir Elam there at 27, even if Carlton Davis comes back. But certainly if Carlton Davis does not come back either way, the Bucs gets a defensive lineman, and then they get a receiver there in Justyn Ross out of Clemson. For what it's worth, looking around the NFC South in this mock draft, the Carolina Panthers with the 6th overall pick go offensive tackle Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. They did not have a second-round pick, do not have a second-round pick, thanks to the trade that they sent that pick to the New York Jets for Sam Darnold. The Atlanta Falcons, meanwhile, have the 8th, 40th, and 58th picks. In this mock draft, they take safety Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame with the number 8 pick, not going quarterback. And then they get Kenny Pickett with the 40th overall pick. So Kenny Pickett, I mean, and this is why I love mock drafts, right? Because I've seen Kenny Pickett as high as number 8 to the Atlanta Falcons. I think I've seen Kenny Pickett in the top 5 in some mock drafts. And here you got Kenny Pickett going 40th overall out of Pittsburgh to the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm sure Pittsburgh Steelers fans probably wonder what their team is doing if Kenny Pickett is going 40th overall and it's not to the Steelers. And then with the 58th overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons get some trench help. Offensive lineman Dylan Parham, one of my favorites coming out of Mobile this year from the Memphis Tigers. Moving on to the New Orleans Saints. Quarterback Malik Willis, we just spoke about him. He goes 18th, the quarterback out of Liberty to the New Orleans Saints. Not sure, again, if Jameis Winston is there or not, or a Jimmy Garoppolo. Malik Willis, certainly a guy that could use a year or two under a veteran quarterback to get his NFL legs under him. And then with the 50th overall pick, the New Orleans Saints come back around and they take wide receiver Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. So those are the results for the Buccaneers out of this latest PFF 2-round mock draft, and then the NFC South targets as well. So wrapping up this segment, guys, we had a question of the week. We brought it back, and we've already gotten some good responses. So keep those coming, guys. If you want to get in on the question of the week, it is looking at the Los Angeles Rams. If you were a fan of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and they were to move like the Rams moved from St. Louis to Los Angeles, granted, moved back to Los Angeles, they moved from LA to St. Louis in the first place. But if the Buccaneers were to move like the Rams did and then end up in a Super Bowl contention position, would you still be a fan of the team? If you want to join the conversation, send in your responses on social media to any of the Twitter handles, or you can email us at lockedonbuckspodcast@gmail.com, or you can call in like Mark did, the actual originator of the question, to me on Twitter, and you can call in at 813-444-5841 to leave your thoughts. Again, that number 813-444-5841, just like Mark did. So let's hear from Mark. He asked the question. Now let's have him answer the question.
Hey guys, this is Mark in Japan. Yeah, hey David, I'm the one who posted a question to you on Twitter regarding if the Bucs ever left Tampa Bay, would we support them? As a lifelong Buccaneers fan, since they started back in '76, I would say an unresounding no. Because once you leave Tampa Bay, you no longer represent me. I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. I'm not a Memphis Buccaneers fan or a Boise Buccaneers fan. Besides, even if the Bucs did leave Tampa Bay, they would have to change the name of that team because the Buccaneers and Tampa Bay are synonymous. It's like when the Browns left Cleveland and went to Baltimore. They couldn't call them the Baltimore Browns. They had to change the name of the team, the look, everything about it. Those are my 2 cents about it. So anyway, love your show, guys. Keep up the good work. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, Mark, appreciate the answering to the question, and I love the passion. I love the definitive answer there that you gave, and hopefully you're enjoying Japan. Japan is a place that I always wanted to get stationed during my military career. Never got the chance. Japan is a very hard assignment to get to if you're in the Army. Mark, not sure how you are there or how you got there, but hopefully you're enjoying yourself, and we certainly appreciate you calling in and enjoyed that answer. Again, if you want to get in on the conversation, we got some more voicemails lined up here for later in the week. If you want to get in on that conversation, email your answer to lockedonbuckspodcast@gmail.com or call in and be a part of the show just like Mark was right there, 813-444-5841. For what it's worth, I don't think Boise Buccaneers have many fans, period, no matter what they change the name to potentially. But I like where you're going with that conversation. James and I will give our answers here at the end of the week as well. No wrong answer from where I stand, to be quite honest with you. Everyone's going to have their own reasons for following the team if they did leave, or not following the team if they did leave. Let's hope you don't have to experience that, right? Hopefully you just have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to root for the rest of your lifetime. In the meantime, something you definitely should experience if you haven't already are Built Bar Puffs, because if you haven't, you're missing out on one of the Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with incredible flavors like yummy cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. I just had a banana cream pie puff bar myself earlier today. It's so delicious. These are going to be some of your new favorites. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, including the Puffs. Yes, the Puffs are also covered in 100% real chocolate. So you got marshmallow and chocolate, and better yet, you got low calorie, high protein. You can replace your candy bars with them. They're better. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. For example, at Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it delicious. Then they figure out how to make it healthy. And I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off just about every single time. Go to Built.com right now to get your own. Use promo code LOCK15 and you'll get 15% off of that order. Again, that's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Segment 3 here, the Locked On Bucs podcast. David Harrison going solo on Twitter at DHarrison82. My co-host James Jarko at JYarko_Bucks. The show is at Locked On Bucs. Both of us covering your Tampa Bay Buccaneers for SB Nation's BucsNation.com. Find that on Twitter as well at Bucs_Nation. Turns out, guys, we're all just living in an episode of Ballers. I don't know if you realized that, but I realized it today, Monday, as news broke that the XFL and the NFL have agreed to a partnership. Every time the XFL, the AFL, any new football league comes up, we all have the same conversation, right? Could this become a minor league organization for the NFL? And you remember the Tampa Bay Vipers coming up and guys like Dante Dye playing for them. Could the Buccaneers send a Dante Dye, or could they send a Ross Cockrell or a Keyshawn Vaughn to the XFL during the NFL's offseason to get some snaps, get some reps, get some coaching, all of those things? The XFL and the NFL, not quite there yet, but they do have an agreement that they have struck on Monday, making it official with the press release the XFL put out. Basically, the XFL and NFL are going to collaborate on select innovative programs to expand the game of football and create more opportunities for the players. They're going to be focusing on safety. They're going to be focusing on physical and mental health and fitness. They're going to study playing services, equipment advances, all those things. Both the XFL, Danny Garcia, the co-owner and chairwoman of the XFL, making a statement, as well as vice president of football operations for the NFL, Troy Vincent, adding different. They're looking at officiating with different technologies. But listen, I can tell you all about it. You can go to BucsNation.com. I wrote it up for the site, or you can hear from one of the co-owners of the XFL himself. And if you go back to the cold open of this show, let's bring on The Rock.
Excited. I am motivated, and man, this one is humbling. I am so honored to be able to share this very big announcement with you guys that the XFL is officially collaborating with the NFL, the National Football League. And the whole idea about the XFL NFL collaboration is to grow the game of football, the game that we all love, the game that we are passionate about. Now that the XFL is joining forces with the NFL with one goal in mind, which is innovation opportunities to advance the game of football. But in addition to, the innovation opportunities, we're also looking to not only grow the game of football, but also create opportunities for player development on and off the field. And as an XFL owner, as you guys know, my number one priority will always be the players and creating more opportunities for them. So we're just getting started. What a force to be reckoned with, the XFL and the NFL. I'll keep you guys posted. I love you guys. Here we go.
And that is how we're going to end this show. I mean, it's The Rock. How am I supposed to come back on here after The Rock and say anything further? So the XFL and NFL striking agreement, a collaboration. Look, it's important to note the XFL tried to reach some sort of agreement with the Canadian Football League about the middle of last year. They were eyeing a 2022 return to the field. That fell through. So then they obviously turned their attention towards the NFL and this latest agreement. And now, even before now, but now affirmed or confirmed the XFL eyeing a 2023 return to the field. I, for one, am fully excited for it. Can't wait to see what is next. And look, if the XFL delivers on their end of this agreement and this collaboration with the NFL, could be the first step in eventually becoming the developmental league for the National Football League. Until then, I'm going to thank you for joining us here at Bucs Nation, the Locked on Bucs podcast, and for making us your first listen or your first view every single day. Now make your second listen the Locked on NFL Draft podcast. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. Two really good guys. Had to spend a good amount of time with them down in Mobile, meeting them in person for the first time. Did a lot of work with Ryan during the Super Bowl run. He also covers the Chiefs, and then had a lot of good conversations with Eric Crocker about NFL cornerbacks, pass defense, receivers, et cetera, et cetera. We are going to be back tomorrow. Well, James is going to be back tomorrow. I will be back later in the week. If you've got a question or a topic you want us to discuss, if you got an idea for the next question of the week, by all means, just like Mark did, hit us up, send in an email form, send in a voicemail, hit us up on social media. LockedOnBucsPodcast@gmail.com is the email. 813-444-5841 is the phone number to call in your ideas, your topics, or to answer this week's question. Would you still support the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if they were to move and become the Boise Buccaneers or something else? Again, 813-444-5841 to drop your answers. For James Yarko, I am David Harrison. Until we speak again, make sure you're checking out everything we're writing over at BucsNation.com. Find us on Twitter at dharrison82, at JR_Bucs, and at Locked On Bucs. If you're out and about, please be safe, be kind to one another, wash your hands, fire those cannons, and thank you for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.